Welcome back to the Valisights podcast, the show for accountants, FP&A leaders, controllers, and CFOs who want to understand how leadership, operations, and AI are reshaping the future of business. I'm your host, Albert Ramos. Today's episode is a special one. Yes, our Beyond the Ledger special edition. We're honoring Men's Mental Health Month by exploring the intersection of physical health, hormonal balance, and emotional well-being, especially for men in leadership roles. Our guest is Angelica Jackson, a board certified physician's associate with over a decade of experience in anti-aging, functional medicine, and hormone optimization. So important. Through her practice, Angelica helps men and women achieve optimal health by addressing underlying issues like low testosterone, chronic fatigue, and mood instability. I'm excited in this conversation. We discuss the connection between hormonal health and mental well-being in men, how societal expectations impact men's willingness to seek help, the role of functional medicine in addressing men's health concerns, and finally, strategies for creating supportive environments for men's mental health. Let's dive right in. I'm so excited. Angelica, welcome to the Valisights podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me. This will be fun to kind of just go over different topics, and maybe someone's just always had that question in the back of their mind, but they're too afraid to ask, or they don't know who to ask or where to go to. So this will be fun.
I am so grateful and thankful for you jumping on. And I got to say, and I know we'll get to my story, or maybe I kick it off with that. You know this, but many of those don't. For 5, 6 years, unfortunately, I dealt with some issues around anxiety and panic attacks. And as you're aware of, low T and all the different hormonal imbalances due to work and things that I might have drank or ingested, the food I ate, all of it. And I was so happy and so thankful that you changed my life. And I'm so grateful that you're on today, because I really do think not just this month, but, really to help change lives for those that listen to this. And sometimes it's just lifting up the hood to check it out and then rebalancing. I know you'll talk about it. You're the expert, but rebalancing their hormonal health, all of it, to change their life. So excited to chat.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And it's just so easy because everyone's had those questions. And sometimes, you just want to know, hey, what do my hormones look like? Where am I at? And it's just so easy to send you to just I use Quest, any Quest location, wherever you are in Texas. And then I get the results and then we go over them, line by line.
I love it. Well, wellness and longevity and hormonal balance are hot right now. And I think it's going to continue to thrive as the people and customer, whatever member for those fitness studios out there as well, clinics, they are far more savvy and they want to get into the science. So why don't we start with your journey? Can you walk us through your journey into functional medicine and hormone optimization?
Yeah, I mean, I was, trained in conventional medicine. That just doesn't sit well with me. I want to prevent any kind of disease process from ever happening. So I personally prefer functional medicine ranges on my lab slips. I love that approach because, yes, you can think about having the right amount of air in all your tires, right? So they can all be low. It still runs and it's still working, but you're not optimized. So you want that PSI to the correct amount. And that's what we do with functional medicine. I'm looking at your labs where you may go see your regular doctor who's not trained in functional medicine. They'll say, you're tired, you're gaining weight, you're just loss of motivation. You're just not yourself. Something's not right. But then when you go and get your labs done, they're looking at conventional ranges. And that's
good.
functional medicine. Yeah, everything's great. We don't know what's wrong.
You're awesome.
Diet and exercise, you're fine.
Yeah.
And that's so frustrating. So what we're doing is I'm looking at functional ranges to where, no, yes, you are within normal ranges, and then you just have to re-educate. Yes, you are perfectly fine. You're within those normal ranges. However, your body's going to be optimal at these ranges. So that's where just taking that time and explaining them that, hey, this is where it's at. Or if they've already previously had their labs, they'll mail them to me or send them to me. I'll go over those because if you already had it done, why are we going to do it twice? Let's just take a look. And even though, their conventional medicine doctor will have looked at them and said they're all within normal range, hey, let's go over it and let me go over the functional ranges. And this is where you kind of want to be. So then they have that kind of specialized custom plan just for them.
Sounds like a little bit of my journey too, so I could relate. But let me ask you this. And it's such a special month, right? Men's Mental Health Awareness Month in June. here at the time of this recording, June 2025. How does hormonal imbalances affect men's mental health from your observations and your
Yeah,
research?
I mean, we're the only species who are intelligent and have expended our lifespan, right? So normal animals, once you're done procreating, everything starts to shut down. We're getting ready to just cease to exist, right? But now we've extended our lifespan, so we need to expand on our hormones. Hormones are anti-aging. Once they go down, yes, you get anxiety,
Mm,
depression. It's almost like this slugness, this veil comes over, you get the brain fog, you don't have the energy, you're feeling exhausted. You're tired of being tired. And so by fixing that, a lot of this normally can just normalize. And then I also go over just how to eat properly. This, I've drilled it into your head, talking about clean eating, protein grams, consuming the right amount of water, electrolytes, stay
on
away
the
from
water.
processed foods. Yes, exactly. But doing it for long term. I don't like diets because
Mhm.
it's a short term fix. I want you to feel the best you've ever felt, but I want you to be able to maintain it. I don't want you to just do a fast, quick fix.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, and I love that you do that. You're so holistic and everything that you provide. I mean, you're a true coach and you're so supportive and available. And I'm so excited about what you're up to and what you're doing, especially out down here in Houston. What are the common signs that, a man and a woman, but a man might be experiencing hormonal issues?
Really just getting tired. And when you're younger, you start to get that abdominal weight gain and you could just hit the gym for 2 weeks solid and then you're back. But now it's like you're putting in the work and it's like you look at food and you've gained weight. So
Mm,
I feel like that's something that guys will notice. They're like, hey, I'm hitting the gym. It's just not happening. I'm just not able to kick it. It's just frustrating. I've got low energy.
mhm,
What can we do? And then you check their testosterone. It's like, oh, well, here we go. And first, obviously, let's look at everything. But sometimes it's a mixture of everything. It could be your thyroid. It could be, your vitamin deficiency, B12, vitamin D. There's
mm,
so much other things. But then there's also peptides that are fantastic to add and we can stack them. So it's not just one. It's just I offer so much, so then I will tailor it towards them and say, look, these are your options. And I
mhm.
don't want to overwhelm you, but let's start with this. Then we'll revisit and we'll keep adding because it's a lot at first. But I like to geek out and tell them everything, and then we'll make your plan and then we'll go from there.
Well, I know there's a lot of men out there that, especially men in leadership, right, as they're going, just all morning, all day, all night, and just hustling, right? Which
Oh,
all
yes.
respect out there. However, they're not pausing and paying attention to their hormones, right? Especially as we get older, right? So, how does testosterone influence mood and emotional regulation?
So just that low energy, you start to kind of feel sluggish. You don't feel like working out. Working out is going to increase your endorphins. That naturally will give you energy and help you with your mental mood. It'll
Mhm.
keep you from getting depressed. Working out helps with anxiety. If you suffer from anxiety or depression and you realize you haven't worked out in a while, and then you can feel that. Personally, I have anxiety, and if I don't work out or I don't stay active, it gets worse. And that's what I love talking to patients, like just normalize all of this. Like I'm on hormone replacement.
I love that.
I love telling my story. It's like, no, this personally has benefited me. I love when couples do it together. I have a lot of couples because if you guys are around the same age, you're going through the same thing. If you guys do it together, you guys are both on track and it
Yeah.
makes your relationship that much stronger. And then you have someone in your corner, because it can really, like, it just, and then you start to get the hormonal weight gain. So I hear, patients complain that, that's going to affect their mood and their depression and this isn't how I feel. Like I don't feel comfortable in my own body anymore. It's making me sad. It's like, okay, great. So I have, access to compounded weight loss medications that are extremely affordable through my pharmacy. It's fantastic. So I get them on board with that. We make a plan. Let's address the issue underlining, because a lot of these places will just give you the GLP-1. Here it is. And then they don't go over any of the education or help you to keep it off. It's like, this is an adjunct, but we have to treat the baseline. So that's where I need to look at the labs. A lot of places will just prescribe it without looking. So let's fix your vitamin deficiencies, your hormones, and then also use this as an adjunct therapy to get the weight off. Because that's the hardest part. Hormone weight gain is just so frustrating. It's like it doesn't want to come off. So
Yeah, I
add
know.
that on, and then people, it's, oh god, it's so rewarding. It's, people are like, I feel great, like I put on, I went down a belt size, I can see the difference. And yes, a lot of my patients are CEOs, and they're busy and they don't have time to always get to the gym, and they're just like, look, I can't eat well all the time,
Mm,
but being on those little medications will help. And especially a lot of them travel sometimes, and they're stuck in hotels. I'm like, okay, that hotel has a gym. Let's go. I even give them, there's an app on my website that I love that does your workout, and you can use it at home. You can use it at any gym you go to, but then it's like having a personal trainer in your pocket. Like, just run
yeah.
through it, and, don't give up on yourself.
That's so good. I can relate on so many levels. If you remember, and I don't mind sharing, I had a prolactinoma, right? Which unfortunately, there's this like inverse relationship between prolactin and testosterone. Well, although to your earlier metaphor, right, around, the tires are on, the tires are low, but it's still working, but you're still not functioning at an optimal level. I felt okay other than the anxiety. I didn't feel like my testosterone was low. However, when we met, and I remember testing, it was like at a 199. I'm
Yeah.
30 something, right? I won't throw it
Yeah.
all out there, but I'm 30 something. And I'm like, wait a second, that's not right. And so I wasn't optimal. There's no way I was going to be able to continue to push through on the entrepreneurial things, the corporate arena,
Yeah.
kids. Like, let's
Yeah.
put that one up there the most. Like kids and wife, that's,
Yeah.
that's a lot of expectation and things to do. And so, how do you do? Can you explain what's the process of diagnosing and treating low T?
First, it starts with a story. I'm like, what brings you in? What is
Mhm.
bothering you? Because they'll tell you what's going on. I want to know all your symptoms. And it's like, it doesn't matter what it is. And even if you think it's irrelevant, I need to know everything that you're dealing with, because a lot of that happens to do with hormones.
Yeah.
What's your story? Where are we going? And what's important to you? And then, do the labs and then go from there.
A lot of guys wouldn't even take that first step, and I'm sure some that are listening to this, right? They're not maybe trying to lean in, but typically, and we know this. There's this coupling of hormonal imbalance and mental health. And
Hmm.
men typically don't seek the help, right? They typically isolate, right?
Hmm.
Maybe don't even tell their buddies or their colleagues. It's like, I'm dealing with anxiety and dealing with depression. That is a tough conversation typically. And this is a generalization, but men typically don't share that information. And so, what do you think is going on societally? What are the societal norms that you think impacts men's willingness to seek help, like from someone like you, to really optimize their mental health and their hormones? And I can't wait to talk about peptides and GLP-1s, but what is it? What's holding them back, you think?
I feel like they don't know where to go. you
Mm,
know like, who do I talk to about this? So a lot of the times I'll see a wife, and then I'll explain in general, hey, this is what you'll normally feel, and I just mention, if your spouse is going through these, and here's A, B, and C symptoms to
mm,
look for, feel free, it's good to get it done together. But I feel like the men don't initially take that step unless they've talked to a coworker, or a coworker has shared it. So
right.
it's nice when people feel great and you feel amazing, and then you want to share it with everyone. But then also, you talk about the anxiety and depression. When someone's coming and they do reach out and they're like, hey, I just, I want to see what my levels are. I feel like I'm not losing that weight. Then I will actually talk about it, and I will bring it up so that it's a safe place.
Yeah.
Look, these are some of the symptoms: anxiety, depression. Sometimes you get erectile dysfunction disorder.
Mhm.
Let me know what you need. I can take care of everything. And it's all telehealth. So that's another barrier. They don't want to go in person, they don't
Mhm.
want to see someone. And if they don't even want to do a telehealth video call, I'm like, let me know if you need me to call. Like, I understand that. It's scary, right? And sometimes you just don't want to see a face. I haven't had that issue, but I just want them to know, like, hey, it's completely normal. but let me help you. Don't suffer. And
Mm,
everything is sent into the pharmacy electronically. I do it right then and there on the appointment. It gets sent in. Your insurance will pay for the medications in the most part. And, it gets delivered to your house if you want. I have great pharmacies that will deliver to the house. So it's
that's
just, I try and make it as easy as possible because it's
super.
2025. We don't have flying cars. I mean, at least we can have better healthcare.
Yeah, for sure. Super easy, right? And I love what you said. Don't suffer, right?
No,
Don't
we're all
suffer.
going through it.
Yeah, you have options, and you're. That's so true.
Yeah.
We're all going through something. Men out there, that we're so much in commons. We can relate on so many levels. We just have to chat about it and have these types of platforms to share. And I like the lifeline though for all the wives out there and the girlfriends. Like, go talk to Angelica, right? You got to talk to her so you can tell her what's going on with your boyfriend or
Yeah.
spouse or husband, and y'all can take care of us. I
And
love that.
there's that easy communication on my website. My work cell phone's right there. I had a patient's husband reach out to me because he had questions before. He's like, before I commit, I just have some questions. And she was texting me all these questions. I'm like, of course, like feel free, have him reach out to me, whatever you need. And if you're not ready, that's okay. There's no pressure. But if you just have a question, just text me. And I'll reply during work hours. Sometimes I'll reply later at night because it's like I have two small kids, so it's like it is what it is. But still, I love having that because when do you have that open access? And it's just a quick question I can just answer, and you get that response right away.
Well, functional medicine and longevity, we're going to talk about peptides and GLP-1s. It's hot right now, right? It's
Mhm.
affordability is becoming better and better. And obviously, people are seeing the positive impacts when it comes to mental health. So, how, in your opinion, how does that functional medicine play in addressing some of these men's mental health concerns?
Oh, I mean, we're finding vitamin deficiencies they didn't even realize they had.
Right.
And then they're finding the answers because sometimes it's hard because you put it on yourself. You're like, man, I'm gaining weight. I don't have the motivation to go up. Man, this is just terrible. And you get down on yourself and you start blaming yourself when truly it's like we run a lab and it's like, no, it's hormonal weight gain. It's nothing you're doing. It's
Mm,
you're swimming upriver. Let's help you. So I feel like that's a big relief to find, okay, there's an underlying issue here. It's not just me.
yeah. I love that. And so when you meet with people and you're having conversations, specifically men, what are the common misconceptions, right? Because I'm sure people will listen to this, right? And while they can relate in a lot of ways, they're like hormone therapy. That's not for me because of XYZ, which don't
Yes.
happen to be true. What are those misconceptions that you hear?
So a lot of the times, they're at the gym and they're seeing these guys that are just can't even wipe their butt, and they're just and that's where I feel like there's that misconception. They're like, "Oh, I just want to see what my levels are, but I don't know if I want to do that yet because I don't want to look like that guy in the gym." And it's like, "No, no, no, no. That's not what we're doing." Who knows what they're doing? There's a lot of other stuff and sometimes people will get testosterone. I mean, testosterone is a controlled substance. You
Hmm.
need to get it from a prescriber. I mean, there's a whole database I have to go into to search and make sure you're not getting multiple prescriptions. It's not something to just
Wow.
sneeze at. You
Yeah.
don't want to abuse it, and it's a controlled substance because it gets abused so much. So sometimes you see people who have a lot of issues and they've abused it when they were younger or, just trying to get swole. And then now they're dealing with all the issues. That's not what I'm doing. We're just filling those tires up to where they are functional and they are at their max PSI to where you should be. The other people are they're going past that PSI, if that makes sense. They're gonna pop. We don't need it to run like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where it's at. And you just want to feel like yourself. And everyone has a different number. That's why, once you're on it, we'll retest you around 8 to 10 weeks. Make sure that's a great dose. Hey, I want to know how you feel. I'm not just treating a lab slip, I'm treating a person. And some people will feel really good, for men, they feel great at 800. They started at 190, who
Oh,
knows,
that was
you
me.
know? And so if that's where you feel great, fantastic, then we're going to keep you at a certain milligram dose to continue that. If you get too high, then there's other risk. You don't
Right.
want to get hormonal acne. You don't want your hair falling out. We don't want DHT overriding. And you have too much testosterone, it is going to get aromatase into estrogen. We don't want estrogen issues. You don't want to, get gynecomastia, which is growing actual breast tissue. We don't want that,
Mm-hmm.
So it's all done in a safe manner and with follow-up labs. And if you have questions, and I'll kind of say, look, this is what we're looking at. When you're on testosterone, you want to make sure that you're donating blood regularly because your body does a better job just producing more red blood cells. And if your blood is too thick, obviously that's going to put you at higher risk, to throw a clot to your brain. It's a stroke. To your heart, it's a heart attack. We don't want that. So
Yeah, that's good. Well, men out there, right? Those, all men in leadership positions, no, not leadership, all men, go
mhm.
go check out your T. You got your
Yeah.
testosterone levels. You got to know. It's so important. And Angelica, when I went from a 190 and obviously started to move up as we started chatting some more, and I was taking care of myself. Obviously, as you always press on exercise and nutrition,
Yes. Do it right.
the anxiety vanished, and no exaggeration. The anxiety vanished. Definitely no even any signs of panic attacks. It's just crazy when your hormones are out of whack, what the body does, and when it's back on track,
Oh,
how
yeah.
great you feel. And I remember this. Danielle, my wife knows, I feel like an 18-year-old kid again, no joke. And, I think that's okay. I think
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's fun. I
Totally.
feel great, and I could do a lot more. So
Yeah.
exciting stuff. Now let's talk about some of these therapies, this advancement in the tech, right? And I love to start with peptides. Can you walk us through peptides? What are peptides? Let us know what we should know about this. And obviously, I could chat about
Yeah.
my story there too. But walk us through peptides. Like, what are those things? We keep hearing
Love
about
that.
it, and this wellness and longevity. Walk us through.
Yeah. So peptides are long chain amino acids. It's almost like giving your body the rest, like the body has all these tools, right? You give them the recipe to make this dish, right?
Hmm.
The peptides are the directions or to complete the task, right? So you give it to them, you give them everything that they need, and then they're able to repair itself. So it's more regenerative medicine, which is so much better. And that's with hormone replacement, same thing. We don't want to be putting synthetic things into our body. You have higher risk of all these different adverse reactions. We don't want that. It's bad enough everything is in plastic. Our milk, everything is in plastic. And we have all these just little microplastics everywhere. It's disgusting. So why would we put synthetic back into our body? So by doing amino acids and just with hormone replacement, I always do bioidentical. I don't even offer synthetic. And then I go into a discussion explaining this is synthetic, this is bioidentical. We only write this. If they can't get it, you let me know. I have another pharmacy. And so, what peptides do, you're going to be regenerating your own tissue, depending on what you're doing it for. There's so many different ones. I am obsessed with them. I use them all as well, and I'm on hormone replacement. And like you said, I feel the best I've ever felt. And I
Hmm.
feel like I look my best. Like I can wear a two-piece bikini and I feel okay. I don't, but maybe if we go on an adult trip, I actually feel
Right.
confident in my body and I'm
Hmm.
in my 40s. So it's so encouraging and it's just yeah, you want to tell everyone about it because it's like I want everyone to feel good. But peptides will help regenerate your body. I mean, there's certain peptides that will actually help repair your DNA. There's peptides that are highly antioxidant that will clear out toxins and also any cholesterol in your liver. I mean, there's ones that will lift brain fog. You just feel like yourself. There's some that will regenerate tissue and help you to actually heal on your own. Like BPC 157 is fantastic. You can use a capsule, you can inject it at the site of injury. Both work fantastic for inflammation. I have a lot of patients on who have Crohn's or other GI issues or bloating, and I mean, that's fantastic for them. There's like the Wolverine blend, which is TB 500 mixed with BPC 157. That's fantastic to just heal and get over an injury. I have a guy who he injured his ankle years ago. I think 10 years ago, he's had like 5 surgeries. And he's just dealt with this pain forever. And he started doing the BPC capsules. And he's like, this has
Hmm.
changed my life. He's like, I finally am healing from these
I
surgeries.
love that.
So it's just so important to just re-educate yourself and do natural options are always going to be best. And then also it's anti-aging, all these peptides. It's like, man, my skin looks so good,
Right.
and you feel so great. And it's like, I have two small kids. I was at a graduation party and someone thought they were my little siblings. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm in my 40s. All my peptides. So, and there's peptides that, once we get the weight off and we fix your hormones, then I'll start talking about peptides. Hey, let's use a peptide to tighten up your skin. Let's tone back up and build that muscle that you lost. Because anytime you have any kind of weight loss, your body is going to eat up the muscle. It doesn't matter. It's a big shock whether you're on the GLP-1s or not. You're going to lose some muscle mass. Let's rebuild it. I love Sermorelin for that. I'm actually on a
Mhm.
cycle right now of Sermorelin.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about
It
that.
is glowing. It's awesome. And you build
Yeah.
muscle, you break down fat further. Like
Mm.
it's so impressive. But again, you got to put in the work. I get up at 6, I do my workout, lift weights, always build muscle. Muscle will break down fat. So, and that's what I always tell patients. I'm like, just focus on building muscle. I don't personally do any cardio where I'm running because I'm lazy. It's all weights.
I
And if
hate
you
cardio.
do
This is
squats,
pickleball.
yeah, when
This
I
is
did my
pickleball.
rotation in cardio, you make someone do squats as you listen for anything in their heart. You want to increase that cardiac output, and that's what squats do. So that is my cardio. So
Let's talk about a couple of examples. You mentioned one of them, and let's go a little deeper. Semarelin, right? So, what is that? And I love, by the way, thank you for explaining the amino acid science behind it, as well as the synthetic versus scenario there, right? Because I think a lot of people think this is you're putting stuff in your body that's toxic, and that's not the
no,
case
no.
here.
And if you're ordering it online and you're not seeing a prescriber,
Yeah,
don't do that. It's not
right,
worth that risk. You can get that stuff online and it's for animal testing, but it's not
mm,
done sterilely. There are no regulations behind it. So
right,
one of my patients is a chiropractor and he sits on the board. Sorry, not a chiropractor, yes. And he sits on a board and they're seeing people are going to multiple organ failure
mm.
because if it's not sterilely compounded or you're compounding it at home,
Heard
bacteria,
of that. I've heard of
fungus,
people doing that.
everything can get in there, and now you are injecting that into your body.
Right.
It happens all the time. I even have patients who are ER doctors, and I hear all kinds of stories, and they don't want to explain, oh, hey, I was doing some illegal stuff, ordering online, and then they finally get it out, and they're like, we don't know why you're in multiple organ failure. And then finally
Mm.
they're like, yes, I had someone come in and they were ordering peptides and they were doing their own testosterone. They were doing this, they were doing that. They ordered their GLP-1 online. And I see that on Facebook all the time. People will ask a question, oh, where do you go for that? Where can I go for this? And people are just putting these websites, and it's just like, oh my goodness, it's medicine for a reason. Like,
Mm.
it's such a high risk with your own health.
So for sleep, right, and for it's actually it also impacts a hormone balance as well, right?
Yes,
So
it does.
semarelin and what was the other one? I
Yes,
always
Sermorelin or
say
Sermorelin,
something.
there's you can pronounce
Epithalin.
it. Oh,
I
yeah,
always forget how to say it.
yeah, you can kind of just see what works for you. But yeah, so Sermorelin, they're going to work on your pituitary gland, and that one's a little more extensive. So I always share, my failure. You're supposed to inject it Monday through Friday. After fasting for 2 hours. So you want to do it right before bed, before you turn off the lights. You can go to sleep. Your pituitary gland will release growth hormone,
Exactly.
and it's fantastic. You sleep really well. I mean, you have movie dreams. I'm like, I didn't
I'm
know.
having like Leonardo DiCaprio Inception dreams. Like I'm in. I'm like, I love this stuff. I
Your
don't even do it
brain,
for the growth hormone anymore. I'm like, I just want to have a great dream.
I know, and that's how I feel. I'm like, this is like my brain is working. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. And so what I was doing, I get in bed and then again I'm lazy and I'm like warm. I don't want to get up. I'm like, oh, I forgot my injection. I'll do it tomorrow. And then I do it
Mm.
again. And I'm like, so find a routine that works for you. And I
Mm.
always share mine. I put my alarm at 8, 8:30, Monday through Friday. As soon as that goes on, then I'll go to my fridge and grab my pre-drawn syringe. Like I personally, once you have it in you're not supposed to, I can't recommend you pre-draw it, but personally what I do is I pre-draw all my syringes to my little 20 units for my dose.
Yeah.
Um, put in a Ziploc baggie with my vial so I know exactly what's in there. And then I'll just grab it each night and put it by my nightstand.
Oh, that's
And
smart.
that
That's
way
smart.
I'm ready. I've got my alcohol swab, that, and then I just personally put it into my hip because if it gets irritated, you get a little lump. Sometimes you get a site reaction.
Right.
It's on my hip dip. I don't care if it gets swollen. It just looks like I have a BBL. I'm good. So throw it out there and then go to sleep, and then again, you have those amazing dreams as you're working out. It's just more productive workout, and then you're just building through. It's that like light fluff. You can just get rid of that fluff and just see those results come in.
Well,
But then,
the good news about that too, though, and we haven't chatted about sleep, but it's helping with sleep, which again impacts your hormones too.
oh,
So for those, and I
absolutely,
can relate on the anxiety front, but I know there's those that deal
anxiety.
with depression too. But it's a perpetual cycle. I mean, you're anxious or you're depressed. It's tough to sleep. You're up
Yep.
late at
Mhm.
night, or you're just bumming out, and
Yeah.
then your sleep's impacted, and then it's again right, and it impacts your ghrelin, right?
Oh
Your
yeah.
hormones within your intestines and stomach and all of that. And then you eat terrible, and then again, it's impacting your hormones and your anxiety and depression. I mean,
Yep.
it's terrible. So I love that. This impacts your sleep, your skin, by the way, and collagen.
Mhm.
That's always
Yes,
nice,
everything.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
it
good.
makes everything grow, your hair, skin, and nails, but it's also helping your vital organs to grow. We
Mm,
need those. But then another screening question I'll ask, do you snore? It doesn't matter, like textbook, they say bull neck, you have to be overweight to have sleep apnea. Absolutely not. I love debunking that myth. I'm like, I have sleep apnea. Because they're like, oh, no, 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 I don't have that. I'm like, I have sleep apnea and I have to wear this very sexy mask.
mm,
Like, no, just if you're snoring, just go for the sleep study because think about it. You can't breathe. Your brain is starved for oxygen and that will give you high blood pressure,
mm.
anxiety. You don't even realize that you're just depleted and then you stop breathing in the middle of the night. So I've actually had a lot of people find out that they have sleep apnea. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you have that sleep apnea and we have that diagnosis, if you're on one of the weight loss medications, if your insurance doesn't cover it, I have all the compounds. I have you covered there. If not, I always want to do the cheapest route possible. So if you have that diagnosis or if you're diabetic, we're going to put in for the weight loss medications under your insurance. And then I do the prior authorization for that. So that's
Um,
like another screening. And it's like, if you have that and your insurance is going to cover it for sleep apnea, let's go that route.
So peptides, hormone replacement therapy. All right, here I call it a controversial one, right? Because I think there's just a lot out there. There's a lot online when it comes to
Oh,
these GLP ones. Massive business, right? And I spent a lot of time in the health and fitness space. I mean, it's blowing up.
yeah.
So I'd love to chat about that and kind of go through some of the misconceptions, the myths of it, but how to also do it safely and make sure that that's the appropriate thing for you. Can you
Yeah.
walk us through GLP ones? What's going on in this space?
Absolutely, because I feel like there's not enough patient education. There's
Oh,
these
totally.
online forums, people aren't even seeing a provider, they fill out a
Right.
questionnaire and they get their medication. And it's like, that's not how this medication works. Or you get providers who don't know what they're doing and they give them the wrong dose and then they wind
Mhm.
up in the ER, just like one of my friend's husbands. It's like, what are you doing? You
Yeah.
cannot start on a 15 milligram dose.
Pancreas is just failing and
Oh god, yeah. So that's a great question. GLP-1s, we secrete a lot of this throughout our gastric juices already. We already
Mhm.
have it. What we're doing is giving ourselves an exogenous source, and by doing so, it's a miracle drug. It will find whatever's wrong with you and it will fix it. If you have a bad relationship with food and you always, oh, I had a stressful day. I deserve this. I'm going to have ice cream. I'm going to drink too much whatever you want to do. You're self-medicating and you're
Sounds
using
like
as
one of my nights back in
yeah.
the day.
So then it turns off all that food chatter. It's lovely. And
Mm.
then what it does is it slows down your gastric empty rate. So your stomach's about this big, right? That food is going to sit there and then you're starting to learn portion control because it's just sitting there. You overeat, you will feel sick. You're going to throw it up. You binge drink, there's nowhere for it to go. It will come up. So I always tell people, just think about the size of your stomach and then that is your portion. And so even, you go to restaurants in our country, they're massive. So I get like 4 meals out of one plate, you know? And And so I always, I've always done that. And then now with GLP-1, I'm like, oh, this is great. This is what I've been doing. And then telling patients, think about food as fuel. And that's what this drug does. It makes you physically grossed out for certain foods that just aren't good for you if there's no nutritional
So
content.
true.
If
Yeah.
you have fried food, it's going to give you that negative stimuli of that nausea.
Mhm.
If you consume it, it's going to give you diarrhea. It's going to give you all of those negative feedback so that you negatively will associate that with those negative effects. It is going to break down fat. So there's, education towards that. I'm like, it will go after fat cells. Adipose tissue does not weigh a lot. So do not focus on that scale. Yes, when you meet with me, I'm always going to get that number because I need to document it for your chart. But you want to go by how you feel. Because if
Mhm.
you're doing everything right, like I will tell them, lift weights. You want to do 5 days a week. And maybe they're walking and they're saying, hey, this medication isn't working. Okay, well, let's go back to the basics. Are you hitting your grams of protein? You should be your goal weight in protein grams is usually what I recommend. Are you drinking 80 to 100 ounces of water?
Mhm.
No. Okay. What's your workout? You're just walking, you're not lifting weights, then you're not building muscle. Muscle will break down fat or adipose tissue to gain energy. So if you're not building the muscle, you're not going to do that. But then also to build muscle and maintain it, you need creatine. So get some creatine, do your little scoop every day, give your
Love it.
muscles what it needs to grow. And then think about, your protein. If you're not giving your muscles protein, it cannot do what it needs. But then you also get those patients that are just, abusing that medication and they don't have an appetite or they're not giving good feedback to the provider. Because I'm like, okay, how are you doing? Oh, you're doing good. Do you still have an appetite? No, I have no appetite. Okay, we're not bumping you up then. You need to get used to this dose because you don't want to have to be forcing yourself to eat and take that away from you.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to bump up. It's all dependent on how they're doing. And that's why these checkups are so important and imperative to their actual result. So when you see those people who are just emaciated and then their hair is falling out and
Mhm.
everything, well, it's like,
They get
yeah,
the
yeah,
what do you call it? Semi-glutide face because they're just overdoing it.
yeah, cachexia. They're just eating away and they lose all their muscle mass. It's like,
All of
well,
it. Yeah.
what are they doing? They're just starving themselves. If you starve
Mhm.
yourself, you don't have nutrition, protein. Of course, you look like that for a certain reason, or you're like you almost have this gray color, you know.
Yeah.
And so you got to do it correctly, and you have to give your body what it needs. So by doing everything correctly, and then always going by inches, And I've had people, complain, "Hey, it's not working." I haven't lost anything. Have you gone down in belt sizes? Oh yeah, I went down in 2 belt sizes, but it's not working. And I'm like, no,
That's
remember, it's all inches. And you can get one of those DEXA scans. Those are phenomenal
those are
because
great.
it'll tell you. I like patients to get that beforehand. And then at 6 months. And then when you feel like you're hitting a wall and you're not losing anymore, go do it again. But and see exactly what the percentages are. And
Yeah, it's oh my goodness, there's so much there. By the way, I love DEXA scans or machines. Some people have
yes,
availability to that too.
anything.
It's so good because you start to see results, which is great. I mean, that's what we're looking for here, but do it safely. I love what you said. There's just not enough education around it. And I love what you're sharing. Not just the stomach emptying, right? Or the slowing down of that process, but
Yeah.
it's so interesting if you do your homework around your blood sugar levels, right? And insulin, and you understand the science of what these GLP-1s are doing. I remember going through this, and I've done little cycles here and there, and now microdose it a little bit, which I want to talk to you about. But I remember putting, and I just wanted to test it, a little CGM monitor, had it on my phone, and I had tracked what I ate a little snow cone. I'd go to these little t-ball games with my boys, and like they want snow cones. I'm like, I'll try a snow cone. Let's see what it does. And I always felt like terrible after because the
Yeah.
sugar would just skyrocket. I remember tracking it with my phone. This is pre GLP-1, and I swear my blood sugar, just a couple bites of this little snow cone of sugar, went up to like a 200 plus. I'm like, what is going on here? No one, I'm like dizzy. I feel terrible.
Yes.
Then on a GLP-1, I'm like, let me try that again. It would not surpass 95. I'm like,
Yes.
what
You
is
hit a
going on
wall.
here? First of all, I was like, I probably shouldn't be eating this anyways. I'm just experimenting. And it's so interesting. So it's the emptying of the stomach, right? It sits there, so you definitely don't want to consume more. but then also what the pancreas is doing with insulin and your blood sugar. It's so impressive. But to your point, it can't stop there. You have to train. You have to strength train, right? Because you can start to eat away not just at your adipose but also your muscle,
Correct. You want
right?
to combat
So I love what you're saying around, and this is where the education comes in. You just don't go full turkey and then do nothing.
that.
You got to still exercise, sleep the right way. You got to do strength training. You have to take, mind your protein intake, right? Your water intake. I love that you creatine, right? I feel like creatine's
Yeah.
back. I love creatine. I'm so glad everyone's talking about it again. So
Yes.
good. But GLP-1s, it's interesting. But to your point, yeah, if done incorrectly, for sure, like with anything,
Yeah,
you're gonna
absolutely.
end up in a hospital in an ER because you're just having pain, or maybe you're vomiting and you can't even take anything down. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on microdosing it? I've heard a
Oh,
lot of chats.
I do it off label for everything. PCOS, endometriosis, inflammation. I have a guy
Mm,
with Crohn's disease. He's living his life now. I mean,
yeah.
it's just
Oh my goodness, awesome.
fantastic. Inflammation, water retention, bloating, all of those things. And I know that they are trying to get FDA approval for fatty liver disease and PCOS currently. So as soon as that comes out, that's going to be huge because there's so
Yeah.
many people who do have fatty liver. We
Well,
can
now
bring
like this whole
it down.
fatty liver disease, or what do they call it? There's like a new name. This metabolic liver disease is like the big thing, because it is your metabolic system is just all out of whack because of what you've been eating, what you've been
Correct.
ingesting.
And all of
Um,
the preservatives in our food, everything that's in our food.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a fan. How do you know, right? There's semi-glutide, right? And then there's Wegovy and there's
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And like, how do you know? Like, because
Great.
sometimes I hear that, like, oh, it's not working for me, and I don't dig in. It's not
Yeah.
my
Oh, no, no, no.
thing, but I like hear that in the spaces that I'm in.
Yeah.
But how do you know which one is going to work for you, or
So
is it
I'm
more?
always very transparent. I'm like, okay, look, this is semi-glutide, right? And semi-glutide is the active ingredient in Wegovy. If
Mhm,
you so there's different indications. So if it's just for weight loss, it is called Wegovy and it's semi-glutide, the active ingredient. If you are diabetic, it is called Ozempic. If you're not diabetic, the prescriber should not be writing that prescription because then that there's a loss and all these people with diabetes cannot get their medication. That's why there's a weight loss
remember,
indication. You
yeah,
should
yeah.
be on Wegovy. However, your insurance won't pay for either or. Then you're going to do semaglutide, the compound.
Mm,
Compound should be coming from a 503 compounded pharmacy that is regulated by the FDA, so you know what you're getting is actually been tested for efficacy, and it has been sterilely compounded, so you're not getting all of this bacteria or
mhm,
fungus into that and injecting it into yourself. So that is a single receptor. I always tell patients it's variable. Some people do great on it, some people do terrible on it. Some people don't have any symptoms. Some people are very sick on it. Some
mm,
people will lose a little bit on it and then they hit a wall and they cannot lose any more. We don't know until you've actually tried it. That one's a lot cheaper, And so I tell patients, you can try that one. And once you hit a wall, or if it's not for you, obviously give it at least 3 months to try because it's a slow process. We don't want to be losing 20 pounds a month. That's very unhealthy,
right.
and so give it some time. If that one's not for you or you hit a wall, or if that one's great, fantastic, save some money. And if not, then we're going to jump to the double receptor. So the double receptor is called tirzepatide, right? And then if you're a diabetic, then that one's called Monjaro, and if it's for weight loss, it is called Zepbound. So
Mm.
that it makes it easier when I'm visual, like those are the medications. So that
What do you
double
think?
receptor.
What do you think it was? So with Wegovy, I kind of had this like the nausea effect, but with trizepatide, I'm like, this is absolutely
So
outstanding. I have
yeah,
no
so it has
effect, and it's not like this, like, oh, I don't want to eat. It's like I'm
carcinogen.
just not ready to fuel up, but I know after working out, I want to be ready to fuel up. I'll feel great. I could keep it down at a small little meal size, probably the right like European meal size, not American meal
But right,
size.
meal size, not like
Why do
ours.
you think that happened? Like, what is that
So
single receptor, double
that has
receptor?
a higher side effect profile, is what I've seen.
I see.
Semaglutide has a higher side effect profile. Tirzepatide does not. So
Mm,
a lot of people, especially if they had the side effects on semaglutide, switching them over, they're like, "Oh, this is nothing. I'm fine. I feel nothing. This is
that's
great.
so
It's
funny.
going fantastic." So I give them the facts and then let the patient decide. Tirzepatide, it's predictable. I know people do well. They respond quickly. It's
Mhm.
less side effects. However, there's still side effects. 1 to 2 days after the medication, you can get, fatigue, especially your first injection. Sometimes you can get fatigue, flu-like symptoms, and then you're good. And then you can just get some nausea throughout the process, but there is a correlation with how you're eating, when you're eating.
Mhm.
If you've skipped a meal, you start to feel nauseous, it's because your body is telling you you need to eat. You
You're
need to eat.
starving.
You have to eat your protein.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then some people will say, on something they try sometimes, like, oh, I'm hungry, it's not working anymore. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you need to have an appetite. Don't expect this to just completely kill your appetite. You need
Yeah.
to be healthy. And then I go back to basics. How many grams of protein are you taking in every day? Like, oh, I haven't been counting. Okay, then you probably way low. And then they'll actually count the next day what they took in, and they're way below. So you're hungry right before bed because your body is telling you you have not met your protein goals for the day. It just makes
Interesting.
sense. So
Yeah.
by going over the basics again, okay, you gotta put in the work. It's not a magic pill. It's not a magic, injection. You have to put in the work, and this is an adjunct. It will help you get there, but as long as you don't abuse it, you do it the right way, because we want to do it the healthy way.
Well, like you said earlier, there are options, right? Number one,
Mhm.
get in front of an expert like you, get your labs tested, your blood biomarkers, right? Your
Yeah.
hormone biomarkers. Let's take a look under the hood, right? From there, and you talked about some of the very relatable symptoms from energy to sleep to body composition to all of that, right? And so, I'm excited about these options, right? And having experienced them, it really does wonders when done correctly, right? It has to be hyper personalized, not if you're getting the cookie cutter, or yeah, if you're going to one of these like Amazon International, like not regulated, and you're getting it there because it's cheap or something. Like, don't.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but let me just say this for anyone. If you are picking it up from a place in a Ziploc baggie, it is pre-drawn. You are not getting the vial. That is a huge red flag, and that is actually illegal.
Oh
If
my
they are
god!
not a pharmacy, they cannot distribute medication.
Wow.
You have
Yeah,
no idea what you're getting. I mean, do your due diligence. You should be able to see that bottle, look at the strength of the medication, and read and see the expiration date.
yeah. It also
Medication
scares me when I hear
mailed
sometimes
to you. Yeah.
people
Oh
are
my.
sometimes I hear it where people are doing their own compounding at home, and
Oh, I
I'm like,
know.
oh no, be
Oh,
careful with that. Yeah, to your point, the bacteria and the,
I
just all of that.
Why would
So
you risk that? Yeah, and
yeah,
my medication's not even that expensive. I'm like, just find someone who knows what they're doing, and that's what I love. My pharmacy that works with me and allows me to give them a better price. But it's like,
yeah,
what? Just please don't risk that. Like, it's
okay.
just not worth it.
Well, for those, like I said, and I can relate with this as mentioned earlier, for those that have anxiety or you have some of those symptoms we were chatting about or depression, right? Take a look under the hood. Something's out of whack. You should not feel that way. And, I know there's a stigma out there about discussing mental health. I love how available you are, Angelica, as well as, hey, if you don't want to do it, you have a lifeline, whether it's your girlfriend, your wife, your mom, like someone, like women,
Yeah,
help us
I've
out.
had a lot of
We don't
moms
want to
refer
talk
their
about
son.
these things. And
Yeah,
so you have that as well. And from hormonal therapy to peptides, which
hmm
are awesome,
yeah,
GLP-1s, but doing it
and
safely,
vitamins.
vitamins, yeah, all of that. There's just so many options to make you feel better and optimize your health and your mental well-being. This is so good. Well, what do you see? What's in the future? Like how is this all going to evolve? Like what's coming up next? I know you do a lot of research and your homework. I mean, what are
Yeah.
the latest treatments or maybe
Oh
something
my
that's
gosh.
around
Well,
the
there's
corner?
a triple receptor we're waiting on FDA clearance for. So my pharmacy already has it. We're waiting for FDA. Yeah, obviously, always safe. We want to do the right thing first. So as soon as that one is FDA approved, then I'll be able to offer a triple receptor. So that'll be really exciting, because then what will that do and what will that cure? Because putting people on the GLP-1s and the GIPs, I see so many other underlying conditions improve, like Crohn's, psoriatic arthritis, fibromyalgia. Um, um, we talk about anxiety. Anxiety can give you irritable bowel syndrome. That
Mm-hmm.
gets taken care of. I mean, that's huge. You don't want to, be trapped or feel like you're trapped, and can't take care of yourself. And
Right.
so that's going to be big. There's also, I mean, these medications reduce your risk of heart attack, stroke, and dementia. Personally, my mom is in heart failure. I have her on a little dose. And she is not tired at the end of the day. She's not getting that edema or swelling by her ankles. And
Mm,
she has the energy. It's been life changing. And now
mm,
her ejection fraction, which is her heart, has actually healed some. So that's
mm.
phenomenal. I'm like, she's going to be on it for a lifetime and not for weight loss. It's going to be, just micro dosing. And that's a thing. So that's a misconception. People think, oh, it's only for weight loss. No, if you have bloating or GI issues, you can go on a little micro dose. You're not going to lose the weight because you don't want to lose the weight. You're going to get rid of all the bloating, the inflammation, water retention, and then everything's going to feel better. Your joints feel better. I mean, just so much.
So
So,
spot on. So spot on. I mean, I think that's very relatable, and I can relate. I have a sweet tooth, or used to have one. The water retention runs in my on my mom's side of the family. We just retain water. I don't know what it is, and then the inflammation, right? Like, I don't want sugar. I can't stand the smell of alcohol when I'm microdosing on a
oh,
GLP.
that is another thing.
And
Yeah.
the inflammation, I mean, I couldn't believe how inflamed I was because, I'd have a glass of wine a night, maybe every
Yeah.
a couple glasses, maybe a night. It was,
Yeah.
like, but you don't realize, like, over time, and your skin, your body is so
Yes.
inflamed. And you can get those biomarkers, your inflammatory markers, and you'll see it. It's like, oh my goodness. And then even someone with some of these peptides as well as the GLP-1s, you'll start to
Mhm.
see significant improvements. And I'm just so surprised how inflammation just crushes you. And then I think of the sugars that feed any bad things that are going on within your body that you might not be aware of or are aware of. The sugar, just they love it. It loves
Yeah.
it, and it just gets worse. Speaking of, intestinal things too.
Yeah, and I hear that all the time. I'm like, "Go through your routine. Let me know, how much alcohol do you drink?" And it's like, "Oh, I'll have a glass of wine at night." And then one glass turns into two, and you think you need it to sleep. Yes, you do feel relaxed and you start to fall asleep, and then you wake up and you start to have insomnia. So you're not
Mm,
going actually into a deep sleep. You're
right,
kind of hovering, and then you wake up with anxiety, and that gives you anxiety. It's like as we
right,
get older, it's like we can't process this stuff anymore. I know I
right.
can't. So I'm like, I make mocktails and I'll tell them too. I'm like, hey, I got into the habit of having something at night, replace it with something else. So, I personally will do like it's like a sleepy time tea, but I'll put it in a big carafe and put it in the fridge so
Mm,
that I pour it in my wine glass and I'll have that with dinner. But it's my routine
so
and I'll
fun.
drink that. Or I'll make a little, like, I want a pretty cocktail. I'll make a mocktail and I'll drink that. So, and then you put in,
So
your,
good. Such a good. That is good. Now
yeah,
that's
oh, I love
discipline.
that.
That's a good tactic. Well, this was great. What message do you want to share with all the men that are listening during this important month of men's mental health awareness? Anything you'd like to leave them with?
Yeah, I mean, take your power back. You're not feeling like yourself. Do this for yourself, and just reach out. And if you have a question, shoot me a text. It's a safe area. We're all going through it. I just want everyone to feel mentally stable and feel good in their own skin. If you look at celebrities, everyone looks so amazing because they're all doing regenerative medicine and
Mm,
fixing their hormones. We don't want to look fake. We want to just naturally feel good, look good. But if you feel good, then I mean, your whole mood changes. You feel good in your skin. You're happy for other people. You're not in a bad mood anymore. It all starts internally. So, just you would do something for someone else. Why don't you do it for yourself?
I love it. Well, thanks for sharing your
Yes.
insights and just all your expertise. I'm a big fan of the holistic approach, especially when we're solving for mental health. Y'all, I've been there. I highly recommend you do your homework here. You rewind this and you listen back to what Angelica is saying. There's so much available there, and you have options. Like she says, take your power back and be who you're supposed to be. So, for all the listeners, Angelica, where can they find more about you and learn more about what you do?
The best way is just go directly to my website. It's super easy. It's just my first and last name.com. So it's www.angelicajackson.com. Angelica is spelled just like Angelica, just pronounced in Spanish. If you speak Spanish, I speak Spanish. I can translate and whatever you need. But it's just go there and it shows, hormone replacement, peptides. I don't have all the peptides listed. So if there's something that you're interested in, feel free to shoot me a text. It's just, all the Karens on the internet. I have a lot of different things. If you need it, we can get it for you. So you have a question, just reach out, honestly, don't be shy. And then you make your appointment. It's all telehealth. I can do anywhere in Texas. So I have a lot of people, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas. It's just great because you get you get your treatment regardless. Like, you don't have to get in the car. There's no traffic. Just
Mm,
you do it from work, your home, your phone, whatever, and then just reach out. And if you already have labs and you're halfway there, just let me take a second look at them.
awesome. Well, this was different. This is a podcast for finance leaders, but again, for all you finance leaders, not just men, but women too, we want to make sure that you're taking care of your health, right? We're grinding morning and night. So I wanted to make sure to do something different for you all here. So hopefully you enjoyed. And as always, if you're looking to enhance your financial operations with AI powered tools, from cash flow forecasting to financial modeling, visit us at valisights.com. And if you want to see a demo, feel free to book it there or just reach out to me on LinkedIn. So exciting. This has been the Valisights podcast. Angelica, thank you so much. Such a pleasure, such a great conversation. And I know, and I'm deeply passionate about this, you're going to change a lot of lives for those that are dealing with any mental health situations due to their hormones and vitamin deficiencies, etc. So thank you for this. This was awesome.
Yes, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Everybody, thank you. I'm Albert Ramos, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.